Good morning, everybody. Today is the 8th of August, and I want to welcome everybody to the Positive Living Center out of Oakhurst, California. And it's brought to you by Zoom Productions. And it's a family of heart-centered community. We want to welcome everybody this morning. If there's anybody new here, we're glad you found us, and please come back and see us again. And for all those that have returned, thank you, because it's always so nice to see you. It's always nice to feel the love outpouring from your hearts and seeing the smiles and just talking with everybody. And sometimes just sitting back and just, just kind of taking in all the smiles and the love. So thanks for joining us today. We are still in the year of manifestation 2021 and August 8th, and our themes for this month are thoughts are always creating, creative mind. Thoughts are always thinking. So today Sandy was telling me, Missy, you need to slow down. And that's a good example of how fast thoughts can be. Sometimes the thoughts get ahead of us. So our themes for today are thoughts are always thinking, creative mind is always creating, and we are always attracting. So then, take a breath with me and let's just settle down. And with that breath, send that breath down through the body, anchor into the ground, just like a tree. Let your roots go down into the ground, because it's time to be still. It's time to go into meditation, while we listen to Patty Hummel's music and allow that music to take us within to the inner core of our God self.
Thank you, Missy. I picked this chant because it's about a deity named Oshun, which is a deity of the Yoruba tribe. And I'm going to read this here. According to the Yoruba elders, Oshun is the unseen mother present at every gathering. Because Oshun is the Yoruba understanding of the cosmic forces of water, moisture, and attraction. Therefore, she is omnipresent and omnipotent. Her power is represented in another Yoruba scripture, which reminds us that no one is an enemy to water, and therefore everyone has need of and should respect and revere Oshun. This chant is about a necklace, which is a symbol of initiation into love. And I'll tell you right now, we would love some water. Ide were nito Oshun. Ide were. Ide were nito Oshun. Ide were nita yaha. Ocho kini ba nito Oshun. Cheque. Ocho kini ba nito Oshun. Ide were. Ide were nito Oshun. Ide were. Ide were nito Oshun. Ide were nita yaha. Osho kini ba nito Oshun. Sheke. Ocho kini ba nito Oshun. Itty witty witty, witty witty ocean.
As we take the call and response of Patty and her four-legged friend into meditation, as the call of love sounds, and the call of love drops down, the rains of grace and the rains of love. Allow yourself to open up to the feel of what that feels like. The rains of grace, the rains of love. Feel the rain. What does the rain feel like on your skin? What does the rain feel like on your face? What does the smell of the rain feel like? What does the sense of the rain sense? How do you sense it and feel it and smell it? And what does it feel like to touch? What does it hear? What does it sound like on the roof and through the trees? What does it look like as you look outside and imagine the rain coming down and blessing the land? Feel that, the grace and the love of the rain. We give thanks because we know that divine order is here now through the love and through the grace. It's the rain. We know it. We feel it. It is our love. It is our grace. It is our truth. And in this knowing, we allow it and we let it be so. And so it is. Thank you, Patty, for that lovely music. And it was just really nice, your four-legged friend that was there. It was really a nice call and response. So it was divine order that the barking was there. It was really a nice call and response. Thank you. And thank the little one there. And now we ask John to bless us with a spiritual thought this morning.
All right, thank you, Missy. Hello, everyone. I want to start off by repeating the themes and see if you can identify the word I'm emphasizing. Thoughts are always thinking. Creative mind is always creating. And we are always attracting. So like Patty Hummel had in the her spiritual thought in the I focus, the word always appears in all three of these themes this month. And it always is a nice word. I like the word. It's definitive. It says what it means. There are always means no exceptions. It means always, all the time. Not sometimes, not simply often, but always. It's always operating. We're always thinking. Our minds are always at work. Our minds are also always creating. Sometimes it seems like we're running in circles in our minds, but our minds are still active. I think of it kind of like a pilot on a plane, that they're on the runway before taking off. They're checking the instruments. They're reviewing the flight plan. They're preparing for the time when the movement will begin. So creativity takes time. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It just means it takes time till it comes to fruition. The third theme that I want to talk about the most is that our minds are always attracting. So we're thinking, creating, and attracting all the time. Ernest Holmes wrote that we cannot stop creating, and what is created depends on that which our thoughts dwell. Esther and Jerry Hicks have a chapter heading in their book, Ask and It Is Given. You get what you think about, whether you want it or not. That so shows the always function of this. We draw to ourselves the essence of what we're thinking about. If our thoughts are about what we desire, our life experience reflects those things. If our thoughts are predominantly thinking about things we do not want, or thoughts that don't serve us, that's what our life experience reflects. So our thoughts attract into our lives conditions, experience, events, people that reflect our inner thinking. And that's both conscious thought and unconscious thought. Always thinking, always in a creative process. Our thoughts, as Reverend LJ talked about last week and Ernest Holmes writes about, our thoughts are always creating a thought or mental atmosphere. That is our thoughts, our feelings, what we say, what we do, how we see things, how we perceive the world, how we believe, both consciously and unconsciously, is what Ernest Holmes says becomes our power of personal attraction. We draw to ourselves what we desire by embodying the atmosphere of our desires, again, both consciously and unconsciously. Now, I'm more familiar with the conscious thoughts, the prayer, the treatment, the setting ourselves, aligning ourselves with spirit to develop in our lives what it is that we want. But unconscious thoughts are also always at work or in play in our lives. Our conscious and unconscious thoughts and feelings, experiences and attitudes influence and make up our mental atmosphere, which becomes the direct reason for and cause of what we attract into our lives. This mental atmosphere that we put out in the world, I think of it as Pigpen, the Charlie Brown character with the dust storm always around him, that our conscious and unconscious lives create this atmosphere, always attracting a reflection of our atmosphere. So while I was preparing for this spiritual thought this week and thinking about where in my life do I have an example to share where my mental atmosphere drew into my life what it was that I wanted, I kept remembering a story that Vivian Capone, our very own Vivian, told in a PLC class many years ago in the old building. The story has always stuck with me, and it really impacted me when I heard it the first time. So I called Vivian, we talked about it. She gave me permission to share her story and share some thoughts about that story. So with her permission, let me just start the story. Vivian learned as an adult that she'd been adopted as an infant. She never met her biological mom or her bio father. After learning that she'd been adopted, she was able to find an older half brother, and then through him learned that her biological mother was very ill, and then learned soon after that her mom, our biological mom, had in fact died. 3 or 4 years later, Vivian and her husband Ralph, 3 or 4 years after her mother's death, Vivian and her husband went to Mississippi to see the town where her family was from and to visit the cemetery where her biological mom was buried. They went to the cemetery, found the plot, and there was no grave marker on it. And so Vivian decided to go out and buy a ceramic angel to place on her biological mom's grave. So she left the cemetery. She did that. She came back to the cemetery. She was putting the ceramic angel on the plot when a truck drove up. A man got out and walked over to the same grave that she was at. Ralph spoke to the man, and it was discovered that the man that was coming there to the cemetery was coming there to visit his mom's grave because he'd not been able to get there the day before, which was Mother's Day. So Vivian's younger brother did not know he had a sister. His mom and his extended family never mentioned that there was another child, a daughter, older daughter, that had been adopted. So that was a big surprise to him. Vivian had learned through her older brother that there was a younger brother, but she never had met him or spoken with him. So I asked Vivian what she was thinking about when she walked into the cemetery, and her answer was that she was not consciously seeking family. I asked her what she was feeling when she walked into the cemetery. And in our conversation, she said with awe in her voice that all she was seeing was all the headstones with her biological family's name on them that spanned several generations. She was surrounded by the ancestors, if you will. Now, I do want to say that because I am talking about Vivian's life and Vivian's experience here, I'm speculating to some degree, but we've talked about my speculation, and so I want to share that here. That I want to make a point that both conscious and unconscious thoughts were at play in this creation of an atmosphere of attraction. That she didn't go there consciously looking for family. But my speculation is that she went there in some way to connect with the mother she never knew, and in some way to connect with her bio past that she also did not know. What she attracted was a brother that she'd never met or spoken to, that did not even know he had a sister. And his answer was just lovely, or his comment to Vivian, that he always wanted a sister, is what he said there. So this is an incredible story, but the thing that got me the most when I heard it the first time, maybe 10 years ago in this class, was the timing of this thing. That Vivian, made the efforts to get to Mississippi, found the cemetery, found the plot, then went out of the cemetery to get this ceramic angel, came back, and while putting it on the grave is when her brother showed up, because he'd not been able to get there the day before. So the divine fine-tuning of the timing of this experience was just incredible to me. So to wrap this up, there were conscious efforts to get to Mississippi, and to find the cemetery and the plot. And I suspect deeper unconscious thoughts and feelings and maybe needs that were acting like a beacon, drawing to Vivian and to her brother this most lovely life experience. So I want to thank Vivian for allowing me to share this and telling it in the first place. And I'll just add that Vivian makes herself available to anybody who wants to talk about this story and about adoption in general. She makes herself available, and her name will be in the chat box. So it is. Thank you.
Wow. It's thoughts are always thinking. You were saying about the word always. But I would want to go one step further, that not always is it always thinking, always creating, always attracting, but in all ways. And that was, and how you showed that so lovingly, so succinctly, so just, wow. Thank you. And thank you, Vivian, for allowing him to share that story, because that was divine right timing. What an example of divine right timing, and how when you're focused on about thoughts and feelings, and you have and the law of attraction, and how divine order and divine timing just come into being. And wonderful example. Thank you. And now for some wonderful music again from Patty Hummel.
Thank you, Missy. John, that was a great spiritual thought. And Vivian, what a story. Kind of blown away. So anyways, here's the song. How does it feel when life doesn't seem real and you're floating about on your own? Your life is uncertain, so you draw the curtain, pretending there's nobody home. But don't theorize, look in your eyes. They can't tell lies, though you disguise what you see. The mirror is free. Well, we once had a savior, but by our behavior, the one that was worth it is gone. The songbirds are talking and the runners are walking. The prodigal son's coming home. Don't theorize, look in his eyes. They won't tell lies, but if he defies what you see, he'll give you the key. Just be yourself. Be yourself. Yes, you should be yourself. Be yourself. Well, we needed a tutor, so we built a computer and we programmed ourselves not to see the truth and the lying, the dead and the dying, the silent majority. But don't theorize, look in your eyes. Are they telling lies? The ones that they learn on TV. What a way to be free. Just be yourself. Be yourself. Free yourself. Be yourself. Be yourself.
Nice, lovely reminder, Patty. Be yourself. And it's nice because it's like the authentic self. Be yourself. It's like, who else could we be? But so many people try to be someone else because they don't feel worthy enough to be themselves. But let me tell you, when you're yourself, it's so nice. And so thank you for a reminder that the best person we could be is ourselves. And now for the wonderful Reverend Bob Hand to give us the honor of his wonderful sermon for the day. Take it away, Bob.
Thank you. Although it's not really myself who's talking. It's okay. I'm glad John covered the law of attraction. Excuse me. I'm covering creative mind is always creating. And when I read that, I was fascinated by it. And I thought, well, why would that be? Why would creative mind always be creative? I mean, why not? Thoughtful mind is always thinking. Persistent mind is always persisting. Stupid mind is, well, anyway, there's lots of possibilities there. But I looked at it, and to create comes from the Latin cretus, meaning to produce or to beget. And that comes from the Proto-Indo-European word cur, meaning to grow. So creation creating is not this artificial system of being in a place with a hammer or tools and making something. Creating is a organic process, a growing of things. So again, I looked at, but why would creative mind always be creating? And I thought, well, let's see, how was creative mind in us created? I'm kind of messing up things here. My computer did something funny. There we go. Okay. So I thought, well, we have to look at how did it get here? How did our creative mind get here? And I thought, well, then we'll have how the universe, how reality was formed based on the theory of Reverend Bob Hand. But of course, I can't take full credit for it. Cosmology, science comes with part of it. I take part of it from the Gospel of Thomas, part of it from the Tao Te Ching. The Tao said, the Tao that can be named is not the absolute Tao. The nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. And so the nameless is the beginning of all things. And we know in New Thought, in spiritual writing, name means our nature. So the nature of the very origin, what I call spiritual essence, is unknown to us. But it created the spiritual realm. It created heaven and earth. It created divine spirit, which we do know some things about. You know, we know divine spirit is always in unconditional love. We know divine spirit interacts with us, responds to us. So there's principles of divine spirit we know. Divine spirit then created the original energy of the manifest universe. In the Big Bang, in the very first second of it, very first instant, it's all one energy. That energy created the many energies. The energies created simple matter. Simple matter created complex atoms and molecules that created everything, including us. And when you look at it that way, it goes, well, that's how our creative mind got here. But I don't think that explains why is it always creating. So let's go backward through the process and see what we missed. So here's this complicated manifest reality and these complicated molecules and atoms, and they can revert back to the simplest matter, the protons, the quarks, the electrons. And in fact, all of those things are still here. They didn't go anywhere, they're here. And those simple matter can revert back to energy. And in fact, that energy is still here. Einstein's E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. The energy is all still there. And all of those types of energy in the universe can revert back to the original energy. And in fact, they would if the universe heated up by a few 100 million degrees. It's a lot like water and ice. So you have water, the temperature lowers, now you have ice. The water hasn't gone anywhere. The ice didn't come from some other place. If you warm it back up, the water's there again. And it's the same thing with creation. And that original energy can revert back to the spirit, divine spirit, which can revert back to the spiritual essence. And what that tells us is this world, including us, we weren't made from something else. Divine spirit didn't take some junk lying around and create the manifest universe and create us, but rather it became us. This original spiritual essence developed, and that's what we are, just in a different form. And so our creative mind is the original spiritual essence. But I think there's another factor in that. It's more than that. You see, these things that are of the universe, ants and elephants and pineapple trees and peoples and galaxies, they all fit together in a very specific way. And how does science tell us that happens? Well, it tells us it happened by chance. That over the 14 billion years of the universe, the dice was thrown millions of times, and each time it came up right so that we would be here. But I find that difficult to believe. And you know, at the very beginning of the universe, things were perfectly balanced. If gravity was a teeny bit stronger, the universe, as soon as it started, would have collapsed again. We wouldn't be here. If it was just a teeny bit weaker, the universe would have kept expanding. No suns would have been formed, no stars, no us. If the electromagnetic force was just a teeny bit stronger, electrons would go into the proton, and you wouldn't have atoms, and you wouldn't have molecules, and you wouldn't have us. And if it was just a teeny bit weaker, the electrons would go off on their own, and you wouldn't have atoms or molecules or us. So right at the very instant of creation, there was a careful balance of everything. Now, is that just chance? Are there trillions and trillions of universes, and we just happen to be in the one that allows us to exist? Well, that's possible. But to me, there's a simpler answer. There was an intent. There was an intelligent intent that created this perfectly balanced universe to create us. And that intelligent intent went from the spiritual essence to the divine spirit, to the origin of the universe, to us. And so our creative mind is always creating, because it is the actual original spiritual essence of the universe. That's what it is. It's that original intent is in every thought that we have. And creative mind is so much more than just me and all of you. I think it's best illustrated by farmers. Now, human beings have been farming for maybe 20,000 years, but we have much better farmers than that. Ants have been farming for about 50 million years. Yeah, they're farmers. These little teeny ants, and ants have brains. They have little teeny brains. Maybe they're geniuses, I don't know. But if you watch a documentary on leafcutter ants, you'll see millions of ants, because their colonies have millions of ants in them, bringing little blades of grass, little pieces of leaves that they've cut off with their manacles, and they're bringing them all into their nest. And that's pretty amazing to see. But you know what's really amazing is ants don't eat leaves. Millions of ants are bringing leaves into the nest, but they don't eat them. Why are they bringing them in? Because a particular fungus eats them. Except that fungus, it has enzymes, but they don't quite work to really digest these leaves. But the ants carry around a bacteria on them that gets on the fungus, and between the bacteria and the fungus, they eat those leaves. And the ants are purposely growing that fungus because that's what they eat. They're farmers farming this fungus. And somehow, with those little teeny brains, if the fungus isn't getting the right kind of leaves, the ants will know that, and they'll go out and get a different type of leaf and bring it back. Only they've got a bigger problem, because all of those fungi and bacteria eating up these leaves causes a form of methane that'll build up in the nest and kill the ants. But this fungus has to grow down in that dark nest. And so what they do is they make little tunnels that go up in a very specific way so that the wind blows by them, creates a vacuum, pulls out the methane, so the ants do fine. Creative Mind has made a system where the ants, the fungus, the bacteria all work together, all gain by it, and have a system that benefits them all. And that's true creative mind. And when we are using our creative mind, we can use it to benefit ourselves. Sure, we can use it to try to get a new car, a new job, a better life. But that's a limited use of creative mind. The real divine use of creative mind that we have a choice every day to use is not the creative mind that benefits just us. It's a creative mind that builds a world that benefits all living things. Namaste.
I like that. You went from divine order almost on a microcosm to divine order on a macrocosm, back to divine order on a microcosm. And you know, it's creative mind writing on divine order, on the concept of divine order. And it's intelligent divine, intelligent intent. Thank you. That was lovely, Bob. That was lovely. Oh, all right. And now it's time for our offertory. And in the chat box is where your tithes and donations can be sent to. And if you join me in our offertory blessing, remembering that as we bless, the blessing goes through us, goes out and multiplies back. Love flowing through me blesses and increases all that I give and all that I receive. Are there any announcements today? Okay. I did want to remind people that the practitioner of the day is Reverend LJ. So at Reverend LJ Bull, and also that on the iFocus, there's a link now. So if during the week you want the group of prayer practitioners that that Joe Bull leads as our lead practitioner, that all you have to do is go hit that link and it tees up an email with his email address in the toolbox. And you can request it, and it goes straight to Joe. Joe, what he activates the practitioners, the prayer chain essentially, and your requirements in a tactful manner are sent out to the confidential prayer chain, and whatever is heartfelt needed, consciousness knows, and consciousness is prayed for in your name. So know that your community, your practitioners, your ministers are here for you, and it's a community of love and graciousness and knowingness. We know that all is well and in divine order for you, always, and in all ways. And so it is. Any other announcements? LJ, Joe, did you have anything? Okay. Next week's speaker I have as the Reverend Kim Haley. And Since there aren't any more announcements, Sandy, would you?
I have-
Stacy.
I have a quick one. Those of you that know that I'm back from the East Coast, I'm going to be here through the end of September, and I have made the final decision that I'll be putting my house on the market. So it would have been either now or in November. It's going to be now.
Mhm.
If anyone knows of someone that would love a well-loved 3-bedroom family home on 2.5 beautiful acres overlooking Deadwood, let me know.
Mhm.
And I'd love to find a family that loved it as much as we did.
Oh, great. And it's one doesn't have to feel unwell to have treatment. You can send that anytime as a treatment to the prayer team too, you know.
There you go.
Meanwhile, the rest of us will know that divine order is working through that right now for you.
Great,
And
thank you.
yes. And before we ask Sandy to do the final treatment, let's go ahead and do our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds me. The love of God enfolds me. The power of God protects me. The presence of God watches over me. The energy of God is me. Wherever I am, God is, and all is well. God is, God is, God is. Sandy, can you close us out today with prayer treatment?
As we continue in this vein of consciousness, I know that our beautiful family comes together in love and harmony, in gracefulness, as we go forth and embrace these teachings and role model them in the world. It's a good life. It's a good world. And I accept all of the highest divine potential for each and every one of us. The world needs us and we respond. We are here standing in light and in truth, making a difference. And I know all of our prayers are responded to, all of our prayers are answered. And knowing this, I give such glorious thanks for that which is ours. And say with me, please, and so it is. Bye-bye, everybody. It's been a great Sunday. Good seeing all of you. And don't forget, we get on early, about 9:30. If you want to chat with people and just share things, please come be part of that. It's almost like a little coffee club. Everybody's drinking whatever their drink is and talking and sharing, and it's a fun time.